when we're talking about high-risk drinking and what that means for students, in general, when students are transitioning to college, that's a pretty um, um, high-risk time in terms of students being away from home, from their family, from their support system. For the first time, they're trying to get accustomed to their environment, their classes, meet new people, form friendships, go to classes and things like that. So there's already that additional just kind of levels of stress and uncertainty. And for some students, maybe they haven't been exposed to alcohol use before, and in coming to the college situation, the college environment, and that setting, some students do get caught up into that kind of partying atmosphere, and perhaps they feel like drinking is the only way to meet new people, form relationships, and so when you add the additional layer of international students who are coming from a different country, who may be having different customs and cultures and expectations around alcohol use and not being familiar with the laws and the culture here in the United States, that's another issue to really kind of take into consideration when we're talking about students engaging in high-risk drinking and what that really means. So really for any student, regardless, international or not, but, there are those immediate short-term consequences when we're talking about high-risk alcohol consumption. It can really be a whole host of things kind of on that continuum. So it could range from having a hangover the next day, vomiting, having a headache, not sleeping well, to potentially getting into a fight, maybe spending too much money. More serious, if someone experiences they're a victim of sexual assault or sexual violence, drinking and driving, or walking home while incapacitated, and obviously the most serious one is death as a result of high risk drinking. There's also the concern of alcohol poisoning, of someone having too much to drink and their body really going into distress because it's just too much alcohol for their body to consume. So those short-term consequences can really affect anyone who's consuming too much alcohol. And then certainly there are the legal consequences. If someone is drinking and driving and they get pulled over, or even if someone is walking and it appears like they're intoxicated, if law enforcement stops them, and certainly with any sort of legal issues, it can certainly impact your status at the university. If you get a DUI, that goes on your driving record. It can certainly impact your ability to apply into graduate school, getting jobs later on. So one of the things that we always really talk to students about and remind them is the risk really worth it? You're making that decision to have too much to drink, and maybe thinking, the last time I had, something to drink and I, drove home, I was fine. Well, what's to say that, something bad isn't going to happen this time? And so is that risk really worth it in this context with international students? If, you've worked so hard to not only come to the university, but come, into the country, do you really want to take that chance and risk everything that you've worked so hard for? So when we're talking about, drinking responsibly, certainly one of the things we always remind students is if you are under the age of, 21, in the United States, it is illegal to consume alcohol. But certainly recognizing that, there are students who are under the age of 21 who do engage in alcohol consumption. And so the message we really try to remind them is, if you are choosing to drink alcohol, if you are under the age of 21, and certainly over the age of 21 as well, But there are certainly things that you can do, really, common sense things, really at the beginning of the evening. So, for example, decide, how much are you going to drink that evening? So set that limit for yourself. Really try to pace yourself. It takes your body about 1 hour to metabolize one standard alcoholic drink. So if you can pace yourself and have about one drink per hour, and perhaps, say you're going to drink from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. So you're really kind of setting those parameters and those limits for you. Perhaps only take a certain amount of money with you. And so once you've spent that money, then you won't be purchasing drinks anymore. Having that buddy system, so we really like to remind students, make sure that you're going home with the same group of friends that you started the evening with, and not getting separated from your friends, and making sure you have that plan in place and checking in with your friends if it looks like someone wants to kind of go off on their own. Another thing to do is make sure that you have that plan of how you're going to get home decided at the beginning of the evening. So whether that means you have enough money for taxis and cabs, or you're going to take the later Gator bus, or you have a sober designated driver. It really needs to be someone who has not had any alcohol at all during that night to be a designated driver. So those are really just a few of the things that, again, we like to remind students, minimal planning. It doesn't take a lot to kind of figure out, at the beginning of the evening, of how do you want your evening to look like. And again, do you really want to be in that place where you've had so much to drink that, one, you don't remember what happened that night, or two, your friends ended up having to take care of you, or three, you're putting yourself at risk for some of those serious consequences previously mentioned.